Your peace is sacred. Protect it. You didn't come here by accident. Maybe a part of you is searching for peace. If that's true, subscribe to Buddha Pray and stay with us until the end of this story. Because here, every day, there are stories meant for your soul. Have you ever forgiven someone, not because they deserved it, but because you were tired of carrying the weight of anger, or held on to pain for so long that one day you realized the only person truly suffering was yourself? Let me ask you this. If your peace is sacred, are you truly protecting it? In the next few minutes, you'll hear a story, simple yet powerful, about a man named Samuel whose silence changed hearts and whose pain became the beginning of something beautiful. This is not just a tale. This might be the lesson your heart needs today. So sit back, take a breath, and listen, not with your ears but with the part of you that still believes in kindness. Samuel lived in a quiet coastal village where life moved slowly, like the waves brushing against the shore. He wasn't rich, nor particularly known by many, but those who did know him often spoke in soft admiration. He's the kind of man who speaks with his eyes, not his mouth. Samuel was a widower. His wife, Eliza, had passed away when their only son, Benjamin, was just 7. After her passing, Samuel poured everything he had into raising Benjamin. He worked as a fisherman, rising before dawn and sailing out into the open sea, no matter the weather. Benjamin, though kind-hearted, had been born with a weak immune system. Doctors said it would take a miracle for him to grow up healthy. Samuel didn't ask for miracles, he just worked harder. One stormy night, against the warnings of his neighbors, Samuel sailed out. "One last trip," he whispered. "Just need enough for Benjamin's new medicine." But the sea had other plans. The next morning, his boat was found shattered on the rocks. Samuel washed up 3 days later, bruised, broken, but alive. He could no longer fish. His body was damaged, but his spirit, strangely stronger than ever. From then on, Samuel spent his days at the small hilltop monastery. He swept the grounds, tended the garden, and every morning he rang the great bronze bell, gong. Each chime echoed through the valley, across the fields, and into the hearts of those who heard it. Oddly, Benjamin began recovering. His body grew stronger, his laughter returned. Locals whispered, "It's the bell." Samuel's peace is healing more than just the air around him. But not everyone believed in peace. One day, a man named Mr. Hayes, a wealthy merchant from town, discovered that a large sum of money had gone missing from his home. Without evidence, without thought, he pointed fingers. "It's that quiet monk man, Samuel. He used to be poor. Now he lives near the monks, eats well, and walks around like a saint." People, as they often do, began to talk. Maybe he did it. He does seem too quiet, doesn't he? Samuel heard every word, but he didn't argue. He continued to ring the bell. He continued to sweep the courtyard. He even bowed to Mr. Hayes when they passed on the street. 3 weeks passed. One morning, 2 young boys were caught trying to spend stolen money at the town market. Under pressure, they confessed. They had broken into Mr. Hayes's home for fun. Samuel's name was cleared. Mr. Hayes came to the monastery with his head low, ashamed and trembling. He knelt before Samuel and said, "I wronged you. I slandered your name. Why didn't you speak out?" Samuel looked at him, calm, unwavering, and replied, "Because I didn't want to lose my peace, trying to fix someone else's chaos." There was silence, the kind of silence that humbles even the loudest hearts. People began to cry, not for Samuel's suffering, but for their own smallness. Because when a man falsely accused chooses silence over revenge, the world sees who is truly noble. That evening, as the bell rang out over the valley, it carried something different, not just a sound, but a lesson. Peace is not the absence of chaos. It is the stillness within us, even when everything outside is falling apart. Samuel was not a monk. He didn't chant scriptures. He never preached about karma or dharma, but his life became a living sermon. The day he chose silence over anger, the moment he chose dignity over revenge, he became what the Buddha once described as a true warrior of the inner path. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha says, "He who conquers himself is greater than he who conquers 1,000 men in battle." Dhammapada, verse 103. Samuel could have fought back. He could have yelled, accused, defended. But instead, he conquered the only thing that truly matters, his own mind. Why do people suffer more from what others say than from what actually happens? Because our ego clings to the need to be understood, to be right, to be seen. But in the Sutta Nipata, the Buddha teaches, "Let none find fault with others. Let none see the omissions and commissions of others, but let one see one's own acts done and undone." Sutta Nipata, verse 21. Samuel didn't see the slander. He saw his own heart and chose to protect it. He knew, if I let anger grow, I invite poison into my peace. If I argue with the ignorant, I lose to their ignorance. And most of all, if I seek justice without compassion, I might win the argument, but lose my soul. In modern life, we often confuse justice with retaliation, but Buddhism invites us to a higher path, one of discernment, not destruction. The Buddha never said to become passive. He said to become aware. To protect your peace does not mean to avoid conflict. It means to act from a place of stillness, not storm. Like a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, even so, the wise are not moved by praise or blame. Dhammapada, verse 81. Samuel was that rock. He didn't suppress emotion, he transcended it. By staying rooted in compassion, he allowed time and truth to speak for him, and eventually they did. What happens when we protect our peace? 1. We break the cycle of reaction. 2. We become a mirror, reflecting others' actions back to them. 3. And we inspire without a single word. The boys who stole learned more from Samuel's silence than any courtroom ever could. Mr. Hayes, a man of pride and wealth, bowed not to a law, but to a man of peace. This is the ultimate teaching of karma. Hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is an eternal law. Dhammapada, verse 5. So let me ask you, dear listener, what would you have done in Samuel's place? Would your ego let you stay silent? Or would it scream for validation? We think peace is fragile, that it must be defended. But true peace defends itself by being immovable. Peace is not soft. It is stronger than anger, sharper than argument, and deeper than explanation. Because peace, in its purest form, is compassion wearing silence like armor. So now I ask you, what would you protect if your peace was sacred? Would you still argue with people who will never listen? Would you still explain yourself to those who are already convinced you're wrong? Would you still give your energy to every fight, every noise, every shadow that tries to shake you? Or would you finally say, enough? Enough letting others live rent-free in your heart? Enough replaying their words at midnight? Enough holding on to battles that only wound you deeper? Samuel didn't win by fighting. He won by standing still. He became the calm in the chaos, not because he was weak, but because he finally understood something we all forget. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not everyone deserves your explanation, but your peace always deserves your protection. And yet, Here's the uncomfortable truth. We're often the first ones to betray our own peace. We answer messages that hurt us. We stay in rooms where we're disrespected. We argue just to be right, even when it costs us our joy. We wear masks just to be accepted and wonder why we feel lost. But today can be different. Today you can stop, breathe, remember what truly matters. The world outside may not change. People may still speak. Accusations may still fly. But the war only continues. If you keep picking up the sword, so put it down. And instead, pick up silence, pick up patience, pick up the practice of letting go. Because real peace doesn't mean nothing happens. It means nothing shakes you when it does. Let me ask you 3 questions. 1. Have you ever chosen silence, not out of fear, but out of strength? 2. Have you ever walked away from a fight and felt more powerful because of it? 3. What would your life feel like if you finally stopped defending yourself and started defending your peace? Leave your answers in the comments, because someone else might need your wisdom today. And one last thing, this part is for you. You're not weak for being kind. You're not foolish for forgiving. You're not naive for wanting peace in a world that profits off noise. You are rare. You are sacred. And your calm is a revolution. So protect it. And if no one has told you lately, let me be the first. You are doing better than you think. Your silence holds power, and your story, just like Samuel's, is not over. If this story touched you, subscribe to Buddha Pray. This channel exists for hearts like yours, for souls still healing, for warriors who fight with stillness, not swords. Here we don't chase fame, we chase understanding. We don't preach perfection, we share humanity. And in every video, we light a candle for someone who thought they were alone. Today that candle is for you. Come back tomorrow. There's a new story waiting, one your soul already knows, but your heart needs to hear again. Until then, stay gentle, stay grounded, and most of all, stay at peace.